Just when Dele thought he could take no more, he saw a flickering light in the distance. The coat pulled him towards it, and he hoped it might be a way out of the forest or a sign of someone who could help. As he approached, the light grew brighter and revealed a small, old cabin hidden among the trees. Its windows glowed with a warm, inviting light, but Dele's fear made him hesitate. He was being dragged closer and closer to the cabin, unable to resist. The spirit's grip felt almost desperate, as if it knew something important was inside. Dele's anxiety soared, wondering what awaited him in the cabin and if he would ever escape the coat's control. Dele arrived at the old hut, his steps heavy with dread. The cabin, hidden deep in the forest, was covered in thick vines and looked abandoned. Its windows were dark, and there was no sound coming from inside. Dele's heart beat loudly as he hoped his family might be there. The spirit inside the coat seemed restless, pulling him toward the hut's creaky door. As he pushed the door open, it groaned loudly, echoing through the silent forest. Dele's fear grew stronger with every creak. Inside, the hut was dark and dusty. Broken furniture lay scattered around, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling. Dele looked around desperately, hoping to find a sign of his mother and cousins, but there was nothing. The only sound was the soft rustle of leaves outside and the occasional drip of water from a leaky roof. Dele tried to speak to the spirit, asking for help or guidance. He pleaded, but his words were swallowed by the oppressive silence. The spirit's grip on him tightened, making him feel trapped in his own body. He struggled to move, but it was as if invisible chains held him in place. Suddenly, a faint light flickered in the corner of the room. Dele's eyes widened as he saw an old, dusty mirror partially covered by a cloth. The light seemed to be coming from behind it. With the coat controlling his movements, Dele was drawn toward the mirror. As he approached, he wondered what secrets the mirror might reveal and if it would hold the key to finding his missing family. The spirit inside the coat guided Dele through the dark and musty hut, pulling him from room to room with no clear direction. Dele felt like a puppet, unable to control his own actions. Each room they entered was filled with old, broken furniture and dust-covered relics. Despite the search, there was no sign of his family or any clue about what the spirit wanted. Dele's frustration grew. His heart pounded with fear and desperation as he realized that they were no closer to finding his missing mother and cousins. The spirit seemed to be in a frenzy, its movements erratic and urgent. Dele's mind raced, trying to piece together what was happening, but the more he tried, the more confused he became. As nightfall approached, the darkness in the hut seemed to close in around him, making everything feel even more sinister. Shadows danced on the walls, and the creaking of the old wood seemed to grow louder, echoing through the empty rooms. Dele felt a deep sense of dread. The longer they searched, the more it seemed like the hut was hiding something important. Suddenly, the spirit stopped in front of an old wooden chest in one of the back rooms. It was locked and covered in dust. Dele's heart skipped a beat. Could this chest hold the answers he was looking for? The spirit seemed to urge him to open it, but Dele felt a cold shiver run down his spine. What if the chest contained something even more dangerous? As night settled in, the spirit guided Dele to a second hut deep in the forest. This hut was smaller and seemed more ancient than the first. Dele felt a chill run down his spine as they approached. The spirit, for the first time, did not push Dele towards the hut but stood back, staring at it with an expression full of sorrow. Dele could see tears welling up in the spirit's ghostly eyes, making him feel a deep, aching sadness. Dele was puzzled. Why was the spirit so sad now? He felt a strong connection to the spirit's emotions and knew that this was important. With trembling hands, he slowly approached the second hut, trying to make sense of the situation. The air around the hut felt heavy, and the forest seemed to hold its breath in anticipation. When Dele reached the hut, he noticed something strange. The door was slightly ajar, and a soft, eerie light flickered from inside. Hesitant but determined, Dele pushed the door open and stepped inside. The room was filled with old, dusty items, but what caught his eye was an old portrait hanging crookedly on the wall. It showed a man who looked exactly like the spirit in the coat. Dele's heart raced. Could this man be the same one the spirit had once belonged to? He felt a mix of fear and curiosity as he approached the portrait. Just then, the hut seemed to come alive with whispers and shadows, adding to the tension. The spirit's tears flowed more freely, as if it was trying to communicate something important. Feeling lost and desperate, Dele remembered a special song his father used to sing when he was upset. With a deep breath, he began to sing softly, his voice trembling but steady. The song was simple, with a melody that had always brought him comfort. As the notes floated through the air, something magical happened. The spirit, which had been overwhelming and heavy, seemed to calm down. The spirit's tears stopped flowing, and its presence grew less frightening. It felt as if the room itself was breathing more easily. Dele continued to sing, and as he did, he noticed a change in the spirit. The air grew warmer, and the dark shadows that had danced around the hut seemed to recede. Suddenly, a soft, almost whisper-like voice spoke. "What is this song?" it asked, its tone gentle and curious. Dele hesitated for a moment, then answered, "It's a song my father used to sing to me when I was scared. It always made me feel better." The spirit's voice grew even softer, filled with sadness and nostalgia. "This song, it reminds me of someone I once loved. Long ago, I lost someone dear to me, and the memory of that person was tied to this song." Dele felt a strange connection forming between him and the spirit. Both had experienced loss and cherished memories. As the spirit spoke of its past, Dele realized they shared a deep, emotional link. This revelation brought a mix of relief and new questions. What was the spirit's story, and how could this connection help him find his missing family? The spirit's voice was soft and sad as it began to tell its story. "Long ago, I was a man just like anyone else," it said. "I lived in a small village and was known for my kindness. One day, I met another man who seemed like a friend. He was wise and offered me advice. I trusted him." The spirit paused, and Dele could sense its pain. "But the man wasn't really a friend. He tricked me and used my trust to his advantage. He wanted something from me, and when he got what he wanted, he betrayed me. In his greed, he made a deal with a witch to curse me. The witch trapped my spirit in this coat, and I have been lost ever since." Dele listened, feeling a mix of sympathy and fear. The spirit continued, "I tried to find a way out, but I could only reach out to those who wore the coat. I thought that if someone could understand my story, I might finally be freed." Dele's heart ached for the spirit. He could see how lonely and desperate it had been. "So that's why you took me to the forest?" Dele asked softly. "Yes," the spirit replied. "I hope that if someone could understand my pain, they might help me break this curse. But now, you know my story, and I still don't know how to get free." Dele felt a new sense of purpose. He knew he had to find a way to help the spirit and, hopefully, find his missing family in the process. The spirit's voice trembled as it spoke. "Dele, your family isn't lost in the forest. They've been taken to a hidden place, trapped by the same darkness that controls me." Dele's eyes widened with shock. "What do you mean? Where are they?" The spirit continued, "The man who cursed me still lives. He's the one holding your family captive. They're in a realm connected to the coat's dark power. To save them, you must confront the man who caused all this." Dele's heart raced. He felt a mix of fear and determination. "How do I find this man? How do I get to this realm?" The spirit pointed to a small, old book lying on a dusty shelf in the corner of the hut. "This book holds the key. It has spells and clues to find the realm and face the man. But be careful, the book is guarded by powerful magic." Dele took the book with shaking hands. Its cover was worn, and it seemed to pulse with hidden energy. As he opened it, strange symbols and old, faded writing greeted him. "What do I do now?" Dele asked. "Follow the instructions in the book," the spirit replied. "You will need courage and cleverness. The man who cursed me is very powerful, but if you succeed, not only will your family be freed, but my spirit will be set free as well." Dele nodded, feeling the weight of the task ahead. He knew he had to be brave, not just for himself but for his family and the spirit trapped within the coat. Dele clutched the old book tightly as he ventured deeper into the dark forest. The path was rough and twisted, with sharp branches reaching out like skeletal hands. Every step seemed to echo with eerie whispers. Dele's heart pounded, but he kept moving forward, knowing his family was counting on him. Finally, he reached a hidden clearing where the ground was covered in mist. At the center stood a towering, shadowy figure, the man who had cursed the spirit. His face was hidden in darkness, but his eyes glowed like fiery embers. "Welcome, Dele," the man's voice was deep and menacing. "I've been expecting you." Dele stood firm, holding up the book. "Release my family and the spirit. This curse ends now." The man's laughter filled the air, cold and cruel. "You think you can defeat me with a mere book? I've been waiting for a chance like this to test my powers." As the man raised his hands, dark magic swirled around him, forming terrifying shapes and creatures. They lunged at Dele, but he quickly remembered the spells from the book. He chanted the words, and a protective barrier formed around him. Despite the protection, Dele felt the weight of the man's power pressing against him. He had to be quick and clever. As the man unleashed more dark magic, Dele spotted a weak point in the shadows, a crack where the dark energy seemed to seep through. With determination, Dele focused all his strength and recited a powerful spell from the book. The spell created a blinding light that pierced through the darkness, causing the man to stagger. The light grew brighter, engulfing the man and breaking his hold over the cursed realm. The man screamed in fury and pain, but before Dele's eyes, he was pulled into a swirling vortex of light and shadow, disappearing from sight. The mist in the clearing began to clear, and the air grew still. Dele breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that his fight was far from over. He had to find his family and free the spirit. As he looked around the now peaceful clearing, hope flickered in his heart. Dele stood in the center of the dark, shadowy realm where the man's curse had trapped him. His heart beat loudly as he prepared for the final battle. The man, now visible and fierce, towered over him with an angry glare. Dark energy crackled around him, making the ground tremble. "You think you can defeat me?" the man sneered. "You're just a child." Dele gripped the book tightly, feeling its power and knowing that he had to overcome his fears. The spirit, now free of its previous torment, appeared beside him, glowing with a soft, comforting light. "You have the strength within you," the spirit said softly. "Believe in yourself." The battle began. The man hurled dark magic at Dele, creating swirling shadows and fiery blasts. Dele ducked and dodged, trying to keep his focus. He felt the darkness pressing on him, but he remembered the spirit's advice. He took a deep breath and thought of his family, the love he had for them, and his desire to protect them. Summoning all his courage, Dele opened the book and began to recite an ancient spell. The words flowed from his mouth, and a bright light emerged from the book, shining fiercely against the darkness. The light formed a powerful shield around Dele, pushing back the man's dark magic. The man roared in anger, but the light grew stronger. Dele could see the man's power weakening as the light enveloped him. With a final, determined shout, Dele completed the spell. The light surged forward, engulfing the man in a brilliant explosion of energy. When the light faded, the man was gone, and the realm began to change. The dark, twisted shadows receded, replaced by a warm, peaceful glow. The spirit, now free, floated beside Dele, its face filled with gratitude. "You did it," the spirit said, smiling. "The curse is broken. You have saved not only me but also your family." Dele felt a wave of relief and joy. The weight of fear and doubt had lifted, and he knew that he had grown stronger through the battle. The realm began to dissolve, and Dele found himself back in the clearing, ready to return to the world he had fought so hard to save. As Dele stood in the clearing, he could hardly believe his eyes. The moment the dark realm dissolved, he saw his mother and cousins emerging from the shadows. They looked just as relieved and happy as he felt. Tears of joy streamed down Dele's face as he ran to them. "Mom. Cousins. Dele cried, hugging them tightly. His mother's eyes were filled with tears too, and she held him close, her voice trembling with emotion. "We thought we'd lost you forever," his mother said, her voice choked with tears. "We are so grateful to be back." Dele's cousins, who had been silent with awe, finally spoke up. "You were so brave, Dele," one of them said. "We heard about the things you went through. You saved us all." The family embraced, their happiness radiating like the Christmas lights now shining brightly around them. Dele felt a deep sense of relief and accomplishment. The trials they had faced seemed to melt away, replaced by the warmth of their reunion. As they made their way back home, Dele noticed something different about the coat he had fought so hard to save. It was now ordinary, free from the dark influence that had once tainted it. He carefully folded it and placed it in a special box, a reminder of the challenges they had overcome. That Christmas, the house was filled with laughter and joy. The darkness that had once shadowed their holiday was gone, and the spirit of Christmas was alive and bright. They sang songs, shared stories, and enjoyed the festive feast, their bond stronger than ever. Dele looked around at his family, his heart swelling with gratitude. He knew that while their journey had been filled with hardship, it had also brought them closer together. The true magic of Christmas, he realized, wasn't in the gifts or the decorations, but in the love and strength of family. The coat, now ordinary and free from its dark power, was returned to Dele. He looked at it with mixed feelings, relief, sadness, and a newfound sense of purpose. It had been a symbol of a hard journey, but it was also a reminder of how strong he had become. One afternoon, Dele decided to show the coat to his family. They gathered around, curious and supportive. He told them everything that had happened, from the curse coat to the spirit story. His mother listened with wide eyes, her face filled with pride and concern. "This coat," Dele said, holding it up, "isn't just a piece of clothing. It represents what we've been through together. It reminds us of the power of family and courage. And it teaches us that even when things seem scary or unfair, we have to face them bravely." His cousins nodded, their expressions serious but understanding. They each took turns touching the coat, feeling a connection to the journey and the lessons learned. As they sat together, Dele noticed a small, hidden pocket in the coat he hadn't seen before. Curiosity piqued, he carefully opened it and found a tiny, old key. The key was intricately designed, and it seemed to glow softly in the light. What could this be for? Dele wondered aloud. His family looked at each other with curiosity and excitement. This new discovery hinted that the coat still held secrets and maybe, just maybe, more adventures awaited them in the future. Dele decided to keep the key safe, knowing that the coat, while no longer cursed, still held a part of their story. It was a reminder of their strength and a symbol of their unbreakable bond. As the new year dawned, Dele and his family stood together on the front porch, looking out at the snowy landscape. The trials they had faced had made their bond stronger, and they were ready to embrace the future with hope and optimism. Dele looked at the coat, now hanging neatly in his room. It had been through so much, from being a cursed object to becoming a symbol of their courage and love. The coat was no longer just a piece of clothing, it was a reminder of their journey and the strength they had found in each other. One morning, while they were having breakfast, Dele's mother noticed the tiny key he had discovered. "Have you figured out what this key opens?" she asked, her curiosity evident. Dele shook his head. His cousin, Emma, suggested, "Maybe it's connected to the coat somehow. We should try to find what it unlocks." Dele agreed, feeling a twinge of excitement. Together, they examined the coat closely, looking for any hidden compartments or locks. Just as they were about to give up, Dele's younger sister, Mia, spotted a small lock hidden in the coat's lining. With the key in hand, Dele carefully unlocked the compartment. Inside, they found an old, weathered journal. The journal was filled with notes and sketches, telling stories of adventures and dreams. It seemed to belong to someone who had once loved the coat and had filled it with memories. As they read through the journal, Dele and his family felt a sense of connection to the past. The coat, once a symbol of darkness, had now become a bridge to new beginnings. The journal stories inspired them, and they felt ready to create their own adventures in the coming year. With renewed hope and excitement, they celebrated the new year, knowing that their journey had only just begun.